Yasodhanandana Brajajanjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Prajajarajana Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Shpadam Saprabhakcharya Stotara Sata Srimad is Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Kantaraja Ki Gaur Premanandi Oh, glorious symbol of devotees. Oh, glorious symbol of devotees. Oh, glorious to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text number 5, which is the chapter entitled Description of the Kingdom of God. Namo Vijnana Viryaya Mayayedam Peyushaye Gita Guna Vedaya Namaste Vyaktayone Namo Vigyan Viryaya Mayedam Peyushe Gita Guna Vidaya Namaste Vyakta Yone Namo Vijnana Viryaya Maya Ye Damupayuse Gita Guna Vedaya Namaste Vyaktayone. Nama, respectful obeisances. Vigyaya Viraya, original source of strength and scientific knowledge. Mayaya, by the external energy. Idam, this body of Brahma. Upayushe, having obtained. Grihita, accepting. Guna Bedaya, the differentiated mode of passion. Namate, offering obeisances unto you. Avyakta, unmanifested. Yoneya, source. Translation, O original source of strength and scientific knowledge, all obeisances unto you. You have accepted the differentiated mode of passion from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With the help of external energy, you are born of the unmanifested source, all obeisances unto you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedas are the original scientific knowledge for all departments of understanding. And this knowledge of the Vedas was first impregnated into the heart of Brahma by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Brahma is the original source of all scientific knowledge. He is born directly from the transcendental body of Govardhana Vishnu, who is never seen by any creature of this material universe and therefore always remains unmanifested. Brahma is stated here to be born of the unmanifested. He is the incarnation of the mode of passion in the immaterial nature, which is separated external energy of the Supreme Lord. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Durgame Pati Mindasya Jagat Kalimatu Swakripa Yustu Danena Shantu Shantu Avalambanam. Jai. So, I read the sloka again, just to refresh. O original source of strength and scientific knowledge, all obeisances unto you. You have accepted the differentiated modes of passion from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With the help of the external energy, you are born of the unmanifested source, all obeisance unto you. So here in the translation, the word unmanifested is used. So unmanifested has a few different meanings. So in this particular instance, Lord Brahma is described as being born from an unmanifested source. In reality, we know that Lord Brahma is one of the billions of trillions of living entities that are living in the stem of Govardhana Vishnu. Govardhana Vishnu is the secondary expansion of Mahavishnu. So of all these million entities that are in the lotus stem waiting to come out into this material universe, Lord Brahma is the most suitable entity to take up that post of Brahma due to his penances and austerities that he's performed in his previous lives. So therefore he's selected by the Lord to occupy that post of Brahma. So Brahma is actually a title. It's given in the same way as we might give to King of England, Your Royal Highness King of England. But we know that there are different personalities of the King of England like that. So our particular Brahma is awarded 4 heads with the to be able to facilitate the creation, to make it comfortable for all the other living entities that are in the lotus stem of the Lord Vishnu. And that lotus stem is said to be white hot due to the desire of the living entities who want to come out and enjoy life, material life. So the understanding of the unmanifested is that the Lord actually doesn't manifest himself in front of Lord Brahma. He doesn't show his identity. So when Lord Brahma comes out, as we know, he's born on the lotus stem. He's looking around, he's looking up and he's looking down, and he can't see anything except the darkness of the universe, and he goes back down into the lotus stem as far as he can to try and find the source, but he doesn't find anything. He just hears the two syllables, ta and pa. So, therefore, the Lord has not revealed himself because the Lord is outside of that lotus and he's lying on the Govardhana ocean. So Lord Brahma is never able to see the Lord. So hearing Ta and Pa, Lord Brahma meditates for like 1,000 celestial years. So Govardhana Vishnu is lying on the ocean, and no one is able to see him, not Lord Brahma, not anybody else. So this is why he's called unmanifest. He does not manifest in front of anybody's eyes. So also in his capacity, of course, we know Lord Vishnu has three manifestations. First manifestation is Mahavishnu, who creates all the material universes, of which this is just one of the myriads of. So no one is able to notice Mahavishnu either. No one sees Mahavishnu. No one can see Govardhana Vishnu, who enters these material universes and lies on Sheshanaga at the bottom of the ocean, the Govardhana ocean. So no one can see him. And in his third expansion as Kshirodaksha Vishnu, no one can see him either, that because he's within the heart, except for the devotees, like the pure devotees who perform so many penances and austerities like Dhruva Maharaj. So when Dhruva Maharaj performed all these austerities, Lord Vishnu briefly manifested himself in front of Dhruva, and his beauty was such that even Dhruva, although he desired so much opulence in the material world, he realized what he was looking for was not where it was at, called a piece of the broken glass. So that was the beauty of the Lord. It's also said that yogis who are able in other ages to meditate for a very, very long time on the Lord within the heart, by the dint of their severe austerities, he is able to manifest himself, or they are able to see the Lord manifest in front of them also. Of course, we know that Kshirodaksha Vishnu is seated in the heart of all living entities, so those fortunate yogis who are able to see the Lord, because they're actually not devotees, they just perform austerities, so they are able, when they see the Lord, they sometimes misidentify the Lord as being the manifestation of themselves, right? So they think I've become one with the Lord. So in that consciousness, they set their goal on become one with the Lord. They merge into the Lord's existence, the Brahma Yodi. So in one sense, they've missed the whole purpose of their austerities, and they entered into the personal Brahman, which, as we know, is shunned by all the Vaishnavas because there's no reciprocation with the Lord there. They just made a mistake, that's all. And ultimately, it's said to be the last snare of Maya, and ultimately they have to come back into this material world. So Lord Brahma, by his austerities, he was able to acquire that knowledge by which he was able to create all the different facilities with this material universe. And as is described here in this translation, that this was revealed to him by the Vedas, by the Lord. So from this we can understand that the Vedas, they're eternal. They just don't manifest with this material universe. They're not made up by Lord Brahma or any other living entity, any demigod, whatever. They are there and they're always spoken. When there's creation, they're there. When there's dissolution, they're still present there. And then when there's another creation, they came back again. They're eternal. So human beings did not invent the Sanskrit language. It came down to us from the spiritual world. Very important point. So even the Bible, that states that in the beginning the Word was God. Right? That's the first thing in the Bible. So what was that word? Om, A-U-M. If there's a word, it's Om. And if Banu Maharaj gave a talk about sound vibrations, and he described that the Om has got everything there is in the word Om. If you unpack it, you unpack the Vedas, you unpack all knowledge. So it's there resting in that single syllable. So Lord Brahma got the Vedas, so he received 4 Vedas. So I've read that because Lord Brahma had 4 heads, each Veda came out of one of the heads. So we have the 4 Vedas. We have the Rik, the Samu, the Tava Veda, and the, how do you say it? Jagya. Yaju Vedas. Those 4 Vedas. So above that, also, along with those Vedas, Lord Brahma also received knowledge from the Lord of the spiritual world. So we have that beautiful Brahma Samhita where we chant Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. We've only got the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita, but the Brahma Samhita talks about the wonders of the spiritual world, and particularly in the 5th chapter is the wonders of Krishna Loka. But Brahma was also cognizant with the glories of all the different Vaikuntha planets and all of the Lord's spiritual energies. So Lord Brahma's there. So in the absence of the Creator, so the demigods are cognizant here, according to this, that you have accepted the differentiated mode of passion from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Brahma, they're glorifying Lord Brahma in his capacity as a secondary creator. So they understand that the primary creator is the Supreme Lord. So in that verse, in the previous verse, they describe Lord Brahma as the God of the demigods and sustainer of the universe. So they're giving him the full praise, but we know in reality this title really belongs to the Supreme Lord. But because Lord Brahma is revealing the absolute truth, he is being glorified as such. So Lord Brahma, he passes this knowledge down in disciplic succession, of course beginning with Narad Muni, who amongst others also instructed Srila Vyasadeva, and we know that Srila Vyasadeva, he wrote down the Srimad Bhagavatam. He instructed Sukadeva Goswami, and it goes down the line of spiritual masters right through to Srila Prabhupada. And he's our founder Acharya who mercifully took this knowledge to the West, giving us fallen conditioned souls the incredible status of belonging to the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are connected right through to Lord Brahma. So in disciplic succession. So we can pat ourselves on the back for this. We're sort of struck it lucky. And it's all due to the glories of Srila Prabhupada. Actually, I just want to recall something that I experienced, the little realization I had in 1976, I think, beginning in 1976. At that point in time, I was a book distributor, and I was walking through the streets of Melbourne. I think it was at Flinders Lane. Anybody know Flinders Lane? That's a bit of a seedy lane. I don't know what I was doing there, but I think I was looking for a printer. We had a printer there, something like that. And there was this poster there on the wall, this huge poster of Srila Prabhupada, and the poster read that Srila Prabhupada, at whose feet all the other spiritual masters sit. Right? Beautiful poster, Prabhupada looking up, playing cartels, and caption underneath, and there was a function on at the Melbourne Town Hall. So that poster was 3 years old. I think Prabhupada, before, that was Prabhupada's engagement in Melbourne Town Hall 1973, maybe 74, maybe it was only a couple of years old, but it was still surviving really intact. In fact, there were a couple of those posters that were left. At that point in time, the devotees plastered Melbourne with this poster, a huge poster, Srila Prabhupada, at whose feet all spiritual masters sit. So that created a little bit of controversy, actually, because a lot of the other yoga groups, they objected to the fact that we were pushing that point too far about Srila Prabhupada being the supreme spiritual master, and they sort of recoiled against that. But nevertheless, the show went on, and Korma Prabhu writes about the particular function which they were advertising in the Melbourne Town Hall. Prabhupada had a full hall, and there was one particular person who came to that meeting. He was there to cause a little bit of a stir. That was the wizard. So he was a very, very well-known identity. In fact, he was held in some awe that he's a self-proclaimed wizard, and wherever he went, he'd sort of make his presence felt, and do some sort of act where he'd try to make it rain or try to create lightning or something, and a lot of words, and he had these followers because he was very vocal. And he was actually there to diffuse a situation which was very tense in the 70s at that point in time, because there was a lot of dissension from the students about the war in Vietnam and so on and so forth. But he was there to sort of break it up and lighten the atmosphere, so forth and so on. So I guess he tried that with Srila Prabhupada, right? So he listened to Srila Prabhupada. It was full town hall, everybody was there. The hall was full, like 300 people or something like that. And then Srila Prabhupada asked for questions. So at one point, the wizard stood up. He goes, he's very polite, "Your Divine Grace." And he started ranting and raving about his good qualities. And Srila Prabhupada was very patient. He was listening to him, and he finished off by saying, "Somewhere next year, about in July, I am going to declare myself to be God." And Prabhupada looked at him. He said, "You are not God, G-O-D. You are dog, D-O-G." And everybody laughed. And of course he began to explain that actually we are Lord's dogs, that we like his servants, like the dog is a good servant. And his wizard was humbled there. So it was a very nice lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave. So that was Srila Prabhupada there. So we really are very grateful, and truly he is the spiritual master at whose feet all the other spiritual masters sit. We know that. But sometimes we have to be diplomatic. Now anyway, Lord Brahma, in this chapter, the demigods are describing him as the sustainer of the universe. So they're praising his glories, God of all demigods, sustainer of the universe, because they're bewildered. The demigods, they're appealing to him to sort this out. What's going on? There's this smoke coming out of Didi's womb, and it's blocking out the sun, and it's threatened their very existence. And for the demigods, this is unprecedented, because it's a total contradiction of what's meant to happen. Actually, the demigods, by the dint of their penances and austerities, they've come to the heavenly planets, and they're entitled to enjoy the heavenly planets, which are like hundreds of times greater than what we experience on this earth. So what is going on, right? So Lord Brahma, as is described in this chapter, as the secondary creator who is empowered with Trikalagya. That means he can see into the future, past, present and future. So he's got the ability to know that what's going on in the future. So he's able to give him the right explanation. Just as a side note, this Trikalagya is also awarded to some of the greater demigods and great sages. As we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes this comes into fruition when the sages, they curse somebody who's performed some offence to them. We have the example of Narad Muni as one who come across the sons of Kavera, the Yaksha, king of the Yakshas. They were bathing naked, they were intoxicated in some wonderful little lake or kund or whatever, frolicking with some of the nymphs. So because they were naked, Narad Muni said, well, you've become very offensive, and to actually teach you a lesson, you're going to become trees. You're going to become Arjuna trees. And then they were very, very apologetic, but he said, in the future, you'll be liberated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, which is what happened. So that's the Trikalagya, that the sage is able to also give a benediction because he knows what's going to happen in the future. So on this note, I thought I'd bring it up that it's sort of wise not to offend any of the sages. They're the great munis or the sages, even speak badly about them in this lifetime, because we never know. In the next lifetime we may just come across them, we just don't know. And because they're Trikalagya, they might remember what we were saying. So we have to be very respectful, because they're very great sages. So anyway, Lord Brahma, he knew about the dark smoke coming from Diti's womb, but instead of sort of directly delivering the bad news that two demons like you've never ever seen before are about to take birth and completely terrorizing you, right? So he knew that if the demigods got this news straight away, they would become totally depressed. So he began to explain to them that actually, you know what, you're here in this material world, although you're here as demigods, but still the real goal is to go back to the spiritual world. So spiritual world is eternal, it's full of happiness, and happiness is there hundreds of times greater than what you're experiencing in this universe. So we have demigods enjoying hundreds of times more than what we enjoy in this earth planet, and yet the enjoyment in the spiritual world is hundreds of times greater, and it's eternal, and Krishna is the source of both, the material and the spiritual. But in the spiritual world, it's eternal. There's no malice, envy, or desire for material sense gratification, but there's still so much enjoyment, that facility for enjoyment is there. So because everyone is pure in the spiritual world, they remember Krishna in their hearts at all time, even as liberated souls. They have the same body as Krishna, some have the same opulence of Krishna, some as Narayan, Krishna in his form as Narayan in the Vaikuntha planets. That's what Lord Brahma is talking about. They get to see Lord Narayan, and there's one more attribute, I've forgotten what it is, if somebody can help me. Same opulence, same planet, same body, and the personal association. So they have all these qualities, and not only that, they can go on all these, traverse all these Vaikuntha planets. They have these airplanes that are made of precious gems like lapis lazuli, and they're going from place to place. They come across gardens with wonderful fragrances of flowers coming through, flowers like the Madhavi flower. So all of this, but they're still not distracted. The senses don't become distracted from the main thing, which is service to the Lord, because they're so attracted they don't forget the Lord even for 1 second. So in this manner, Lord Brahma is impressing the devatas about the beauty of the spiritual world and the need to go back there. After all, stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma bhuvanaloka punarabdano ajana mabapetya kontaya una janma navidyate, that there's only temporary happiness here. All places are actually places of suffering. Why? Because repeated birth and death takes place. But one who can remember Krishna never has to suffer birth and death. So that is in the Bhagavad Gita. So the suffering and enjoyment that are there, because we enjoy in the material world, we tend to forget the suffering. So this, there are two potencies of Maya, because it's Maya's duty to sort of put us into illusion. So she has two potencies. One is the covering potency, which is called, I love this term, it's a hard one, the tongue twister, avaratmika potency, right? You better get ready. I'm going to ask you for the second one, that's even harder. So the avaratmika potency is the covering potency. So we get covered over by a sense of enjoyment, that we tend to forget the suffering. Everybody's after enjoyment. And then we have the second potency, which is called, thank you very much, prashyatpatmika. Remember that word, prashyatpatmika, because you're going to get thrust down into the material world. So the example is that if we become very attached to material things like intoxication, we may be drinking alcohol and blot out our senses and be very happy just by that process. There are a lot of people who do that. And then the prashyatpatmika potency is that you get thrust down, you get cirrhosis of the liver, right, that. Or if you smoking cigarettes, for instance, you smoke and then you get lung cancer. So you have that potency of enjoyment, the thrusting down. In the general sense, in the broader sense, you can try to enjoy life on so many different levels, and you're living that life, but then at the time when you have to give up your life airs and go into your next body, you get thrust down into the animal species, dog and hog. And then you have the facility for enjoyment, like the dogs, they enjoy eating old kangaroo bones and whatever else is going, and they're sleeping on the street, and they're fighting and barking, eating, sleeping, mating and defending, and they're thinking they're doing really well. The hog is swilling, the hogs in Vrindavan, they're swilling all that sort of dirty stuff in the gutters, and life is great for them. They have the family, and they're in that forgetful state. So the lesson is padam padam na vipadam na tesham. There's danger in every step of life, that we want to sidestep this two coverings of Maya. So Lord Brahma explains this to all the demigods, that actually there is a higher state, and that's the heaven, that's the spiritual world. And in one of the planets of the spiritual world, there are two Dwarkadwaras. There are two gatekeepers, and their names are Jai and Vijay. And guarding the gates of the palace of Lord Vishnu. And then it so happened that the four Kumaras came along, these little, what seemed to be little boys no older than 5 years old. So the gatekeepers mistook them to be young boys who were totally out of place, not knowing that the four Kumaras were great sages who chose not to get any older, not to grow any older in their bodies than the age of 5, stay in that age, so they're not going to be tempted by any of the trappings of material energy. So they shoot him away, and the Kumaras took offence to that and cursed them to become demons. And lo and behold, he cursed them to become demons in this particular universe, and this is where it's at, that they've taken birth in the womb of Deity. So the demigods got the news. First he broke it. First he gave them the sort of broader picture, and then he gave them the news. Of course, the upside is that the Lord will appear in two magnificent incarnations. One is the Boar incarnation, Varaha Dev, which is a magnificent incarnation. We celebrated his appearance day a few months ago, where it's said that every hair, normally boars are boars, you know, they're very bristly, ugly, their skin is very tough, but the Lord's hairs were so beautiful that they stunned the heavenly damsels of the upper planetary systems when they saw the beauty of the Lord Boar. So it's a really magnificent incarnation. And he dispatched one of the demons, whose name was Hiranyaksha. Right, so in the second one, he appeared as the wonderful incarnation of Lord Nrsingadev. And it's so appropriate that actually we're celebrating Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day in 2 days' time. And see, the preparations are here, all the devotees excited. Why? Because Lord Nrsingadev in his incarnation as half man, half lion gives protection to the devotees, because he protected us from the greatest demon that's ever existed in this whole universe. Who else, what other demon has his name sung every day, about 5 times a day in every temple, ISKCON temple in the world? How he got bifurcated by Lord Nrsingadev. So he was still singing how Lord Nrsingadev got rid of this terrible demon. We've had demons in the past, but they get forgotten, you know. There's been terrible demons that come, but sooner or later, history of time covers them over. Not Hiranyakasipu. He was just by the dint of this birth that is causing smoke to come out of Deity's womb, and he's blinding the whole universe. The demigods can't see anything, and the whole universe looks like it's going to be upended. So they're appealing to Lord Brahma to see what's going on. Of course, Lord Brahma can't do anything. He has to let it all take its course. And the only way these demons were going to be dispatched is by these wonderful incarnations of Krishna. So Lord Nrsingadev, we celebrate his appearance because actually Lord Nrsingadev is known to protect the devotees from the demons, just like he protected Prahlad Maharaj in so many different ways. But not only that, he protects us from the demons without and within. So we can also pray to Lord Nrsingadev to protect us from the demons within. That's with our mind. Pray to him to help us conquer our mind so we don't become entangled in these potencies of Maya, this project and Avaratmakam Pratit. Where is it? Prakshet Patmaka. Say it. Okay, everybody say it. Prakshet Patmaka. Okay, if you remember this, you're doing a whole lot better than me. I've been trying to remember it for 40 years. Prakshet Patmaka, the thrusting down potency. So we pray to Lord Nrsingadev to protect us from these potencies, and we stay out of danger that way by being like the residents of the spiritual world and remember Krishna at all times, and that way we can remain on the spiritual path. So thank you for all your attention. I'm grateful that so many people have been listening. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Mani Bandhu Prabhu. Just a second, we'll get the microphone.
Thanks for your class. It's interesting you mentioned, like old Prabhupada saying that the sages, demigods, seated Trikalagan, And yesterday's purporter mentions, Prabhupada says, that Brahma, he knows everything happening, spiritual, material worlds. He knows everyone's heart and everyone's intention. So that sounds like omniscient. But as a jiva, how do we understand that? Because generally it's only Vishnu Tattva we would understand as omniscient.
Yeah, well, that seems to be that way. But on the other hand, when Krishna appeared, that Lord Brahma seemed to forget all that and he forgot who Krishna was. I mean, obviously he knew that Krishna was going to appear one day in his lifetime, and I'm not Lord Brahma, I don't know if it was this particular time. He said, well, Lord Krishna's supposed to come, and he was looking down and he sees this little cowherd boy playing with all his friends and eating, with his left hand, and other people putting food into his mouth, which is really, what's the word for it? It's, moochie. He said, how could this be that the Supreme Personality of God can act in this way when we make all these different elaborate sacrifices and all these pujas, everything? It's sort of the mentality of awe and reverence. So the fact that there was a sort of the intense love and devotion, the bhakti yoga, totally bewildered him. So then, therefore, he's not actually, even though he has got all those qualities, still he becomes subject to, it wasn't really Mahamaya, it was Yogamaya. It was one of the Mayas. It was actually the spiritual Yogamaya that bewildered him. So I suppose, therefore, we can understand that it's nothing's perfect after all.
That they're giving that ability only as much as they need.
Correct, yeah. Good point. Nishringa Kavacha Prabhu, can you pass the microphone over to him? Just now coming.
So we understand that Lord Brahma, just on Manibandha Prabhu's point, he's an empowered jiva. If you look at those prayers, I think it's in the third canto, Brahma's prayers for creative energy, then in there Krishna is saying that he empowers him to do creation. So for the purpose of creation, he needs to know the things that Manibandha Prabhu said.
Yeah.
We also see that with Yamaraj, he's a jiva, but still he knows what's going on in everyone's heart. He knows, so he's empowered by Krishna. But that empowerment's only for the purpose of that service. If he goes beyond the realms of that empowerment, then he can become covered by, as you mentioned, Yogamaya. So we can also understand Yogamaya as Krishna's pastime potency. So only very, very elevated persons are affected by Yogamaya.
So that could also probably be understood by Arjuna, who had the potency.
Yeah, same. He's covered by Krishna's internal potency.
Yeah.
It's not external potency.
Yeah, and then when Krishna withdrew from his life, then all that potency was gone.
But the point is, that I'm trying to make it is because of the service he has, he needs to know those things to do that service. So then Krishna blesses him.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments there? Anybody? Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Saviour of the whole world.